So it's no surprise the cast of characters is exactly as it was every Advent. The first Sunday we have Isaiah, the second Sunday we have John, and John comes back next Sunday, and then Mary, the principal characters, prophets, speakers for the Advent season. So it's no surprise, everything's falling into line. John seems to have only one thing on his mind. He has what he calls repentance. Other people would call it conversion, change. The word in Greek, in the original gospel that's come down to us, is metanoia. It's an interesting word. Meta means beyond, and noia means mind. And we would probably translate that as thinking out of the box. John is saying, begin to think out of the box. We're living in an age which I guess it's the old age of not Polaris, but the age of polarity. Group thinking. Everybody is being put in categories, everybody's being separated from others, and in the process usually either demonized or praised, attacked or thought well of. We do it with groups, we do it with races, we do it with political parties, nationalities, genders. It's all this separating out and categorizing and boxing people in. And of course, we separate the goodies from the baddies all the time. Individuals and groups, all out of fear. We create walls between us and others because we're afraid. And we forget that one thing that Jesus constantly kept saying to us was, do not be afraid. So John prepares us for the coming of Christ, who joins together that which is separated. Of course, the whole cosmos being rejoined, redeemed, restored to the Father. That's the purpose of his coming, and that's the purpose of John's asking us to be prepared for that, to be prepared to think outside the box, to think differently, and therefore begin to act differently. So what does Christ call us to do as he comes among us? To imitate him, to resist group thinking. And we're so caught up with all our technical equipment that ideas and thinking just go around the world in a second, and there's the danger that we will be caught up in this group thinking and not think like Christ. We're asked by Jesus not to buy what everybody else is selling. And I'm not talking about commercially. Not thinking what everybody else is necessarily thinking, but to begin to think on our own as his disciples. In other words, not to succumb to the common public opinion all the time. In the second reading, Paul reminds us of two things. He's talking to Christians after Jesus. He's preaching to his parishioners, if you will. He says, think in harmony with one another as Christians, but have the mind of Christ. Think like Jesus thinks as he approaches the diversity of the human family. Think as Christ thought. Have the mind of Christ. And this repentance, this conversion, this metanoia, this thinking outside the box is a lifelong process. You don't convert once, you convert constantly. Always keeping in mind the fact that we did not choose Jesus. Jesus chose us. So during Advent, we ponder the scriptures. We hopefully enter into a more serious prayer so that we will be able to develop in ourselves, or have developed in ourselves by the Spirit of Jesus, the mind of Christ. For our sake, personally, and for the welfare of our world. But make no mistake about it. If you have the mind of Christ, and you act and speak accordingly, you will be out of sync. You will be countercultural, and you'll pay the consequences.